everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss any of my videos. Today I wanted to share with you guys what we've read in our homeschool so far this year. We do a lot of read aloud books. You'll have to forgive me, I'm just getting over being sick, so my voice is a little bit off and I still don't look quite normal. But anyways, we do some read aloud books. Every school day I read a chapter out loud to the kids. Depending on how the day goes, sometimes the kids can be super pokey at lunch. So when I'm done eating my lunch, I'll just bring the book over to the table and I will read to them while they finish eating. Otherwise, we'll finish lunch, get all cleaned up, and then the kids will just sit down and have some quiet play and I'll read to them. So most of the books that we've read this year have been borrowed books, whether they're from the library or from my mom or a lot of them I don't have a physical copy of today, so I'm going to talk about them and I'm going to try to insert pictures of each of the books that I talk about. So the first book we read at the beginning of the school year was Charlotte's Web. This is by E.B. White, and most people have heard of this book. It's a fairly well-known book and has a lot of human and animal interaction. It's about this pig named Wilbur, and he's friends with a girl named Fern, and he's also friends with all the other barnyard animals. He meets a spider who eventually saves his life. It's full of adventure, lots of humor, and the kids were really into this book, and every day they wanted to read another chapter, and they were always very excited for what was going to come next. The next book we read was Mrs. Pickle Wiggle by Betty McDonald, I believe. And this was another humorous book. It's about this lady who lives in an upside down house, and all the children in the neighborhood love her, and when parents have problems with their kids, they need cures, they send the kids over to Mrs. Pickle Wiggle, and she cures not wanting to go to bed, being a picky eater, talking back, and all these different problems that parents send the kids to her for. So it's a funny book, interesting, lots of lessons, I guess, as far as these bad attitudes and behaviors and how to fix those in a funny way. I wouldn't say the kids were quite as captivated by it, but they did enjoy this story and there were lots of laughs. As we were nearing Christmas time, the next story that we read was called Jotham's Journey. I'm not even going to try saying the author's name because I do not know how to pronounce his last name, but this book is an Advent book, and so we read this every day until Christmas. I don't know how many, it's probably about a month before Christmas we started, and then read a chapter a day. And it is a fictional story about a boy back in Jesus's day who gets taken apart from his family. He wants to try to find his family, but along the way he meets other people and he eventually sees wise men, he meets the shepherds, he meets Elizabeth and Zachariah, and eventually he gets to meet baby Jesus. So this was full of adventure. Every day something exciting is happening. Every chapter ends with a cliffhanger, and especially my oldest, Elijah, was really into this book, and it was just a really fun Christmas tradition that I think we've started that we're going to continue on each year. The next book we read was Riding the Pony Express, and this book is about a young boy named Dick. It's a fairly short book. there might be 10 chapters in it, but it's fairly short, very short chapters. It's about this boy named Dick, and he travels across the country to find his dad. His dad rides with the Pony Express, and so the son feels kind of left out by his dad because his dad's often gone, and he feels kind of unneeded, and then eventually an emergency happens, and Dick actually ends up riding the Pony Express by himself, and it's a good history lesson in this book, I guess, just to see what things were like back in this day and how the Pony Express worked, and just a really good educational book for the kids, and they did enjoy this one. The next book we read was Trumpet of the Swan by E.B. White. So this book is by the same author as Charlotte's Web, but it's a much less known book, but the story was really very good, and same sort of idea with people interacting with animals, so that part of it is fun but very not normal, not real, people interacting with animals. But it makes the book that much more fun to see what the animals are thinking and stuff. And it's about this trumpeter swan named Louis, and he does not have a voice. And so he actually ends up getting to know this boy named Sam, who teaches him how to read and write. Eventually he gets a trumpet and he can use his voice through the trumpet. And it's just a really fun book. Once again, the kids loved this one. What we're reading right now is Little House on the Prairie. We just started it, the kids are enjoying it, and most people have heard of this one. It is an autobiography, and so it's a true story, which was, when I told the kids that this was a true story, they were like, what? Really? I think it's just a totally different way they're going to look at this book because they know that it really happened. But because it is a real story and has very realistic parts of it, because it is a real story, the kids can really relate to it and see the relationship between the mom and dad and Laura and Mary and their travels and all their adventures. So we just started it, but the kids are enjoying it. I forgot I was supposed to show you this one. I actually have this copy because we're still reading it, but the kids are really enjoying this one. Now we're about to take a little break from Little House on the Prairie because we're going to start this book called Amos Adventure. It's by the same author as Jotham's Journey, and so it's an Easter book, which will be fun. I don't quite know what happens, but it's about this boy, and I imagine it ends with Jesus dying on the cross and rising again. And so I'm not quite sure what adventures this boy will be on, but that will be a fun one to start, and I think we're supposed to start it like 4 Sundays before Easter. So I believe this coming Sunday we're going to be starting this book. And so I'll have to let you guys know how that goes. But those are all the books that we've read in our homeschool this year. All the main books. We've read aloud a few other books that maybe just took 3 or 4 days that just had a few short chapters in it. But I'm ready to start compiling a list of books that I want to read aloud to the kids this coming year. So if you guys have any suggestions for read aloud books, please leave those down below and I will check those out so I can make a list and just prep ahead of time so I know what we're going to do and look for them at the library or see how I can find them to read this next school year. So thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!